Okay, hello everyone. So today, this is Devabrata, and today I am going to cover the for loop application. So I have segregated for loop into three parts. One is for loop series, one is for loop pattern, and this is the for loop application. So if you want to know more about the for loops and the initial syntax of the Java, so it will be better if you visit my channel, and there will be some videos or some classes before, so you can go through those items. So um okay, and for my introduction, it would be good, without wasting time, it would be good if you visit the link provided in the details section of this video, so you will get everything about me. So there is actually no meaning to introduce myself, but before starting I want to say only, like, I am a slow learner. It is the fact. So it takes time for me every time, means when I'm going to learn anything new. So it would be better for you, so my suggestion would be, like, do not waste time, and never go for, means like you have to be first in the class. So it will be good if you just learn the chapter, just solve the chapter, and you will be able to solve any kind of programs coming from this for loop application, say. So that would be your goal. It is not like you have to know 1,000 chapters or 1,000 topics. It will be enough if you know only 10 chapters or 10 topics, and you will be able to do all the programs coming from those 10 chapters. So that will be good. Means it is what the industry wants. So if you prepare yourself like in this way, so I think that will be good. That is a small suggestion from my side. So okay, jumping into the topic, for loop application. So yeah, I have already mentioned today I'm going to cover for loop applications, and I have segregated the chapter into three parts. The for loop series and patterns you can find in the different videos or class. So prerequisite before the class, it will be good if you have some knowledge over the syntax, how to write the basic Java syntax. If you do not know, don't worry. I have a go class by class method, so you can find that class one, or for the chapter one, then class 2, and accordingly you can come till this video. Or if you already know the for loop applications thing, how to handle the for loop and all, so I would prefer to forget everything, okay, to give a format and restart. Okay, and the most importantly, the time in hand. If you are in a rush, if you are in a hurry, then it will not going to be make any effect on you. So only watching the video or watching the class will not be enough until you just do it by your hand, okay, by yourself. So that is very much important. So let me start with some examples. Like, if anyone asks me to print this series 258 and 50 till 50, so what I need to do? So first, if you do not have any any compiler, any Java compiler with you, so don't worry, just write online Java compiler in Google, because you surely have, if you are watching my YouTube video, obviously you surely have the internet connection, so you can access Google. So go to this online compiler, onlinegdb.com. It is very interactive. That's why I prefer to go with this compiler. Do not need to make any changes in the existing program. So just I will do some stuff inside these two brackets. So the whatever written here is just ignore. Okay. So I need to print. mm, I need to print. Let me check the series again. 258 till 50. So what I can do, I can introduce one variable like int I, and then for I equals to 2, I less than equals to 50, and I equals to I plus 3 every time. So I have a class on this for loop series previously. You can visit that, or if you are new to this video, if this is the first class of you, then you can just follow the syntax. I'm explaining once again. Like I equals to 2, the starting value of I is 2, the ending value of I will be 50, means it will iterate until the value of I is lesser than 50, and it will be means every time it will be incremented by 3, means I equals to I plus 3 every time. So it will be first 2, after that it will be plus 3, means 5, after that it will be 8, kind of that. Okay, so we can, okay, first run the program. Okay, look, the okay, it is okay. Let me print it in the same line, otherwise you cannot see the output properly. Oh, sorry. Sorry, give me a, let me give a space. Okay, I think now it will be visible. So look, 2, 5, 8, 11, all the numbers are being printed. So this part always run once. Okay, always run once. It is a value of I, that is the I is holding the value before starting the for loop. So you can place it here as well. Okay, so run the program again. So it is similar like if you place this first part outside the for loop, means before starting the for loop. This part, the increment decrement part, is basically comes at the last of the for loop body. So you can place it here as well. Okay, so let's check. It is giving the same series. So what is happening? The first value of I is 2. Then if I get I is less than 50, answer comes as yes. Then it is printing I and it is incrementing the value of I by 3. So next time it is 5. Next again 5 lesser than 50. Answer comes as yes. Then it again prints 5 and I becomes 8. So accordingly it runs till 50. Okay. So this is the you can say it the broken for loop. Okay. So these semicolons are mandatory. So you have to give it. So now what is while loop? So while loop is very simple. The broken for loop and while loop is basically same. So if you just replace the word while and remove this semicolon, so it becomes a while loop. So you can follow this rule, means to convert for loop from for loop to while loop. This is the way. This is the way. So you accordingly you can change all the programs. If you are not able to change any program by this method, you can contact me. Okay. So the what is the method? First part, um, to the means top of the loop, means before starting the loop I will place the first part. The last part I will place at the end of the for loop body. Now you can write a broken for loop like this, for and giving two semicolons. You can write it like this way, or you can delete those semicolons and name this for as while. So both are same actually. So now what is do while? Just copy this part, and write do here and place this while at the last of the loop. The thing is same. The thing is same. So what is the difference of while and do while? So in do while, if it doesn't satisfy the condition, suppose I am writing a condition like I should be lesser than 0. Okay, now if you run the program, it will print the first part. It will it will print the first number by default. Then it is checking, okay, I is not lesser than 0. Then it will not go further. So that is the hard coded rule of do while and do while. You have to copy the while section and paste it at the last of the for loop, means at the last of the loop, better to say, and give a semicolon. Okay, and place a do at the top. That's all. That's all. And you can apply it to all the programs. If you are able to write the for loop, if you are able to write the for loop, you will be surely able to write the while and do while loop as well. I will give some more details, some more examples if you want. So let me go to the slides. So yeah, so today we will going to run broken for loop, while loop, and do while loop. Basically, three of them are same with some minor differences, minor. But whatever you can do in for loop, you will be able to do the same in while loop and in do while loop as well. But there are a minor difference. While loop is a bit flexible, but I can assure you, till your college days, you will never be means you will never know what are the difference between while and for loop. Okay. So okay, let me run this program now. 1, 2, 3, all the natural numbers till 10. So these are the very easy programs. So uh, till n till 10. Sorry. So I can write I equals to 1, I lesser than equals to 10, I equals to I plus 1. So now just sorry, just write system.out.println I. So it will print 10 numbers. So now if you want to print the sum, because in the problem it was written like you need the sum. So if you can remember what we have learned in the for loop series class, then you must know how to calculate the sum. But if you do not know, I can explain it again. Like, it is very easy. Give sum equals to 0, introduce a variable like sum equals to 0, and whatever you are printing, this is a rule, whatever you are printing, if you are able to print, you will surely be able to print the sum as well. So after the loop, just write sum, and here whatever you are printing, just write sum equals to sum plus that value. So we were printing I, so here that's why we put the I inside of the variable sum. That's all. Okay, so let me run the program once again. I am weak in mathematics, so I don't know what is the sum of 1 to 10. Let's see. Okay, server is taking some time. It is 55. Okay, so the answer is 55. So now, what are the blind rule to make it the conversion into while loop? The blind rules are: place this part outside of the loop, I equals to 1. Place this last part after the semicolon, I equals to I plus 1. Place this part at the end of the for loop body, the last line of the for loop body as. So now you can run this. You can run this broken for loop as well. Let me run this broken for loop. Okay, it is also giving 55. Now to convert into while, what is the blind rule? Just write while instead of for and remove the semicolon. That's all. That's all. It will also print the same 55. Look, and what is how to convert in do while? Just a blind cut, write do and paste it after the for loop and press a semicolon. That is a blind rule. It is applicable for all the programs. Okay, if it is not, please contact me. Okay, that okay sir, it is not following this rule. Whatever you are saying, I cannot convert it from while to do while. So you can contact me. Okay, so 55 is the answer again. So now you know how to use these three things: for loop, while loop, and do while loop. So both are same actually, as per the output, or as per the looping structure. So the syntax is different. That's all. So enter a number and print its factorial. So what is factorial? So we are going to solve some mathematical problems in this chapter. So factorial is one of them. So if you ask me what is the factorial of 5, so the factorial of 5 will be 1 into 2 into 3 into 4 into 5. That is 120. You all are better than me in terms of math. So you already know the 5 factorial means 1 into 2 into 3 into 4 into 5. 4 factorial means 1 into 3 into 4. 2 factorial means 1 into 2. So kind of that. So I need the multiplication basically. So to do the multiplication, I can follow the same way. I can write prod instead of sum, and the starting value should be 1, because in case of multiplication, I need to take it as 1. Otherwise, if it is 0, the multiplication or the product will always come as 0, because 0 into something is 0. So I will just change this part. Sum equals to sum plus I. Rather giving this, I will write prod equals to prod into I. That's all. That's all what I need to do. Prod. Okay, and it will calculate the factorial of 10. So I will do it for 5. That's all. So it should give me 120 kind of. What is the error giving here? Okay, sorry. It will be equals to. So it will be something like 120. It should give, yeah, it is giving the correct answer. So in simple format, how can it be written? It can be written as for I equals to 1, I lesser than equals to 5. You can take the input from user as well if you want. So it will be like prod equals to prod into I. If I can calculate the sum of the numbers, I can obviously calculate the product of the numbers as well in the similar way. So look, it is giving 120. If you give 6, it will calculate the factorial of 6. Okay, so that is the way. So by this way, I will solve multiple programs in this class. So today we are basically learning, we are going to learn 4 different topics of for loop. Okay, 4 different topics. Let me, yeah. So topic 1 is extract digits. So extract digits means, suppose anyone ask like enter a number and print the sum of the digits. What does it mean? What does it mean? Okay, let's take an example. Let's take some input. Let's take some input. Okay. Okay, let me delete this. And these are the basic lines to take some input. Do not need to understand what do you mean by scanner and all. For the time being, these are not important. So, okay. Okay, let it be A or num. Okay, say, suppose anyone gives the input like 153. So 153 means if they ask for the sum of the digits, it would be 1 plus 5 plus 3. That means the answer should be 9. So how to fetch the digits from a number? Because whenever I will give 153 as input, so num will be 153. Now, how can I extract 3, 5, and 1 from this number? Or it might be something like 2742. Then I need to fetch 2, 4, 7, and 2 out of it. So how to do that? So let's check. So first what I will do, while num greater than 0. So means the number should be greater than 0. So obviously if we think like 153, num equals to 153. So it is greater than 0, obviously. Yes, it is greater than 0. So even it is not mandatory you have to use while, you can use for loop as well. They both are same actually. So for num greater than 0, say. So or I can write another thing, I equals to num. Okay. Uh, so let it be like I equals to 153. So until I greater than 0, the value of I is greater than 0. Yes, 150 is greater than 0. Then I will take a variable like d. What is the value of d? It is I percentage 10. The remainder after you divide it with 10. So if you divide, sorry, 153 by 10, so what will be the answer? Means what will be the remainder? Obviously remainder will be 3. You can try. If you divide 153 with 10, then the remainder will be like 3. So now this 3 is one of the digits of 153. So what I will do, I will just print that digit, print ln and print d. That's all. So after that, because I have already printed 3, I will divide this 153 by 10. So 153 by 10 is 15.3. So now as all the values are integer, means num, I, all the variables are integer, it is not going to take this 0.3 part. So the value of I will be 15 only. Okay. So I will write one part here. At the end of the loop, it should be like I equals to I by 10. So I will become 15. And next time again, now 15 percentage 10. What will be the remainder if you divide 15 by 10? It will be 5, obviously. So now we are getting the second digit of 153, and I just print that d means 5. So again, I equals to I by 10. So that means 15 by 10 means 1.5. So as this is integer, it is not going to take this 0.5 part. So it will be only 1. So 1 is greater than 0 and 1 is greater than 0. Yes. Then again 1 percentage 10 means if you divide 1 by 10, the remainder will be 1. 10 into 0 is 0. So remainder will be 1. So now I'm going to print this one again. Okay. Next, I equals to I by 10 once again at the last of the loop. So it will be like 0.1. As this number is integer, so it is not going to take the 0.1, so it will be 0. Now, before entering into the loop, it is asking for I is greater than 0, is it is asking, but answer will come as no. I is 0, it is not greater than 0. So it will never enter into this loop again. Okay, and the program will be ended. So let me run this program. So if I am bit fast during this explanation, you can pause the video and you can watch it back. Okay. So okay, what are the mistakes? Okay, I have not introduced the variable I here. Okay, let me introduce that. I think it will work now. Okay, let me give the 153 itself. Look, it is giving 3 first, then 5, then 1. Okay, as I have explained why it is giving 3 first. So it is printing it, printing all the digits. So let me try with some other numbers, some 4-digit or 5-digit number. So 4-digit number is 4328, say. So look, it is successfully extracting the digits from that number. So now if I want the sum of digits, so we already know if we can print a series, we can obviously print the sum as well. So I have to introduce 3 lines. First is sum equals to 0. Then the second line is to print the sum. Let me print the sum after the loop, that the sum is sum. Okay, and whatever you are printing, just put that inside the variable sum. That's all. These are the golden rules. So now let me run the program. So if I give 153 again, it should be 1 plus 5 plus 3, that is 9. So let me check. Yeah, it is giving the correct answer. Okay, let me check with some 4-digit number. If I give, suppose 5326, I don't know what it would be. 5 plus 3 is 8, 2 plus 6 is 8, yeah, 16. Look, it is giving the correct answer. Okay, so it is extracting the sum of the digits perfectly. So now the second program is enter a number and print if it is Armstrong number or not. So 153 is basically an Armstrong number, 153. Why? Because 1 cube plus 5 cube plus 3 cube is 153 itself. 1 cube means 1. 5 cube means 5 into 5 into 5 means 125. 3 cube means 27. Now look, if you sum this, it will be 153 once again. So if a number, if the sum of cube of each digit of a number is equals to that number itself, then it is being called as Armstrong number. So what I need to do now? So in case of Armstrong number, I need the sum of the cube of each digit. So I do not need D only, I need D into D into D. So the sum will be 153. If I enter 153, the sum will be 153 itself. Let's check. If I enter 153, the sum will be 153 again. Look. So now instead of printing the sum, I will do one thing. If the original number, that is num, equals to sum, then I will print it is an Armstrong number. That's all. Let me print that. Armstrong. I'm a little bit confused with the spelling. It is Armstrong, I guess. Armstrong number. Okay. Else, if it is the sum is not equals to the original number, I will just print not Armstrong number. That's all. Okay, so let me input once again. So if I write 153, it is Armstrong number. If I write 154, say, okay, it is taking time again. Okay, 154 if I write, it will give me not an Armstrong number. Okay, clear, I guess. If you are not, you can means again revert it back and just go through this explanation once again. So I enter a number and print its reverse. This is the last program for the topic 1, extract digits. So suppose anyone gives 153 once again. So what will be the reverse of 153? So 153, the reverse is, if I equals to 153, the reverse would be 351. The reverse is 351. So how to calculate that? First, I will take a variable reverse, that will be 0. Okay, I do not require this printing Armstrong number or not Armstrong number. I do not require that. Let me delete all this. So let me take a variable like 0, rev equals to 0. Okay, just it is in the comment section, so it will not going to run. So rev equals to 0. Now I equals to num, I greater than 0, this part will be unchanged. This will help me to fetch the digits from the num variable, the number. Okay, so now this is the digits we are getting. At first it will be, if I enter 153, so d will be 3 at first, then d will be 5, and at last d will be 1. So now without doing this sum, I will do rev equals to rev into 10, whatever is there inside the variable rev, I will just do into 10 and plus the remainder, means the digit. So what is happening here? So what is the initial value of rev? It is 0. Look, I have already written here rev equals to 0. I have introduced the variable rev as 0. So rev equals to 0. Rev equals to 0 into 10, because the value here, rev, the value of rev here will come as 0. Okay, because I have already introduced rev as 0. And what is the current value of d? The current value of d is 3. Okay, I have already explained in the last program. So 0 into 10 means 0 plus 3 means the value of rev is now 3. Okay, put the value of rev as 3. Okay, so after that, I equals to I by 10 and all. So the next value of d will be 5. So now again, rev equals to rev into 10 plus d. So now what is the value of rev currently? It is 3. I have already calculated. Look here. So what is the value of d now? Second time, the value digit will be 5. We have already explained. So 3 into 10 plus 5. So it is 35. So current value of rev is 35. Again, it is iterating. So I percentage 10 last value will be 1 of this digit, of this number. So now the what is the calculation of rev? Rev equals to rev into 10 plus d. So the value of d is 1. What is the current value of rev? Look upper side, it is written as 35. So 35 into 10 plus 1 means 350 plus 1 means 351. So look, this is the reverse of that number. Okay, if you still have any doubt or if I am bit fast, you can pause the video and go back to the section and go through that once again. Okay, so let me print, and if you are able to understand, it is very fine, very fine. So the reverse is plus ref. So now I'm going to print the number. So let me delete all this. I do not require. Okay, so let me give 153 itself. Okay, I have forgotten to give the semicolon. So let me enter 153 itself. Okay, and it is giving the reverse as 351. Okay, correct. So, yeah, so that's all. Let me go to the topic 2 quickly. So in the topic 2, we are going to solve some of the mathematical problem, I guess. And the first example is enter two numbers and find its HCF. So if you can remember how to calculate the HCF, let me remind you. Okay, first let me take two different numbers here. Let's say first variable is X and the second variable is Y. Okay, and enter first number here I will write, and here I will write enter second number. Sorry, second number. Okay, Now, let's take first number as 60 and second number as 30. So how to calculate this, the HCF of 60 and 60 and 36, sorry. So it is the old gold rule we have all learned during our school days. 60 divided by 36. Just follow and ping me or tell me if I am wrong in doing this mathematics. So I'm not good as you in mathematics, but still I'm trying. So 60 divided by 36. So the remainder will be like 24. And please excuse me for my bad handwriting. Okay. So, okay, 24 by 36 now. Oh, pathetic. Okay. So it will be 1 and 24. My natural handwriting is not too bad as I am writing in digitally using mouse. So it is becoming tough for me. Okay. 12 and 24 will come here. And if you do not know this process, please contact your mathematics teacher. Okay. Because I'm not your mathematics teacher. And this is the way actually to do the HCF. So 12 into 2 is 24. Now remainder comes as 0. So the what will be the answer? The answer will be 24. The answer will be 12, this part. When the remainder will come as 0, whatever will be there as divisor, so that will be the answer, this 12, because the remainder comes as 0 here. Okay, so I will do the same thing now. So I have two variable x and y. So assume x is greater than y. If x is not greater than y, you can swap it easily. So now I'm not going to that program. So say x greater than y. So what I will do for, it will iterate till x percentage y not equals to 0. Whenever x percentage y is 0, then I will stop the loop, like here in the mathematics as well. So say x is 30. Say, let me assume user has given x equals to 60, sorry, and y equals to 36. Now, what I'm doing, if x is not divisible by y, means the remainder is not coming as 0, I will just go inside the loop and do int z equals to x percentage y. So what will be the value of z here? 60 and 36, if I divide, it will be 24. So what I'm doing now, x equals to y, x is taking the value of y, means x is becoming 36, and y is taking the value of z, that means y is becoming 24, right? Because z we have already calculated 24, the value of y is 36. So if x takes the value of y and y takes the value of z, so new x is 36 and new y is 24. Okay, let me delete all this comment section. I will calculate fresh. Now again, 36 percentage 24 not equals to 0. Yes, 36, if you divide 36 by 24, it is not going to be 0 remainder. So again, z equals to 36 percentage 24, that is 12. We have already calculated in the right look. Okay, so now x equals to y, so the value of y was 24, so x will become 24 and the value of y will become z. So what is the value of z? It is 12. So look, y will be 12. Okay, by these three lines. Again. Okay, let me delete first this comment line. Otherwise, you will be confused. So 24 percentage 12 not equals to 0. Answer is no. 24 percentage 12 is 0. Okay, so the loop will be stopped here, and I will quickly print the HCF is y, because I need to print this 12 and I have explained here as well. So when the remainder will be 0, I will print the dividend. Okay, so that is 12 here, so I will print 12 here. Okay, so let me delete all this and let me run the program. So I will enter 60 and 36. Let's see what happened. 60 and 36. So it is giving me 12. Fine, fine, fine. So now what will happen if I enter 60 and 30? What will happen if I enter 60 and 30? So it will quickly give me answer 30, because at the first time it is checking 60% is 30 not equals to 0. Answer is coming as no. 60% is 30 is 0. So the for loop will not be iterated, will not be executed. It will directly come into this print line and it will print the value of y, that is 30. Okay, got this program, I guess. If you are not, my suggestion will be same. Just go back to the starting of the video, or at least this starting of this topic too, and go through once again. So the next question is enter two numbers and find its LCM without using HCF. So again, it is a mathematical task. You can go to your mathematics teacher if you do not know what is LCM. So LCM is basically what is LCM? Let me explain. So x, suppose x is 40 and y is 30. Say, so the LCM will be 120. Because this is the common multiple, means 120 is divisible by both x and y, means 30, and it is the lowest multiple. Means what are the other multiples available? 240 also can be divisible by 40 and 30, but 120 is the minimum one. Okay, you cannot any more numbers minimum than, means lesser than 120, which is being divisible by 40 and 30 both. Okay, so what we can do, means to calculate the LCM. So I can introduce one variable for int I equals to x. Say larger number is x. Okay, so I can, if I do not have any condition, I can just simply write true, because I do not have any condition now. Okay, or anything you can give true, you can give I greater than 0, anything you can give. Okay, I do not have any specific condition here. So whatever what I will do, I equals to I plus x. Every time I will be incrementing the value of I. Okay, I will tell you why, and every time I will check I percentage y equals to 0. If it is yes, then I am going to print that the LCM is plus I, and I will break the loop. So this command, break command, basically break the loop. Means the, if it is being triggered, if compiler executes this line, the for loop will be stopped. I will explain it later in this chapter. Means not in this chapter, in some other chapter, what is the benefits of the break. But for the time being, you can remember, like, break is, if you press break, the for loop will be ended. That's all. So what I'm doing, so the first value of I is 40. I am checking 40 is divisible by 30. Answer is coming as no. Then 40 is incremented by another 40. I equals to 40 plus 40. So it is becoming 80. So now it is again checking 80 is greater than 0. Yes. So 80 is divisible by 30. Answer is coming as no. Then again I'm doing 80 plus 40, means I is becoming 120. Again I'm checking 120 is divisible by 30. Answer is coming as yes. Then I'm printing the LCM, and LCM is being printed as 120, and I'm quickly means I'm quickly breaking the for loop, because there is no meaning to print 240, 360 once again. So I just need the lowest multiple. So whenever I'm going to print, I'm just ending the loop here. Okay, so let me run the program first. Let me enter two numbers, 40 and 30. 40 and 30. So look, LCM is 120. You can try with other numbers as well. What can be the other numbers? Let me check. Give some tough numbers, 60 and 36. Say. So LCM is 180. Okay, so this is the way you have to solve your mathematical problems using the for loop. So that is why this chapter is being called for loop applications. Okay, so going to the topic 3 quickly now. So we have covered major parts already. So in the topic 3, it is like handling multiple variables. So suppose anyone asks, enter 10 numbers and find the maximum. So now suppose if I ask you to tell me the maximum number out of 50 elements, the maximum one out of 50. Okay, let me start. uh, I'm going to tell 50 numbers one by one, and you have to tell what is the maximum one. The first number is 75, second number is 20, third number is 52, fourth number is 69, fifth number is 22, sixth number is 12, seventh number is 23, eighth number is 35. So what is now in your brain? Have you remembered all those number I have told you, or you have just remembered the maximum number? So now I think I cannot contact you at this moment, but I think in your brain you have remembered only 75, because till now the maximum value came is 75. Okay, okay, go further. So 11th number is 39, 12th number is 45, 13th number is 95, 14th number is 60, 15th number is 68. So now what is in your brain? Have you remembered all the numbers I have told you, all the 15 numbers? I guess no. So in your brain, I think it is 95, because 95, the number, is greater than the previous max. It was 75. So 95 is a new number you have to remember. So the same thing, if anyone asks me to find the max out of 10 numbers, there is no meaning to store 10 numbers in 10 variables. There is no meaning to do that. So what I will do, I will just do a for loop. I equals to 1, I less than 10, and I equals to I plus 1. So for 10 numbers, I have introduced one for loop. So I will input these numbers from the inside of the loop. I will just write enter element 1, or enter first number, kind of that. Enter element 1, enter element 2, kind of that. And I will take the input inside the x. Okay, and I will introduce another variable like max. The initial value of max will be 0. Okay, and now I'm going to take all the inputs inside x, and always I will be checking if x is greater than max, then if x is greater than max, then max will be x. So the same thing we are doing in our mind. So whenever the new number is greater than the previous maximum, so the maximum is that number. So whenever 95 crosses the previous max, that is 75, we just assigned 95 inside max. Okay, and forget all other numbers. Okay, so every time we are taking input inside x and doing this stuff. So after the loop, I will just going to print. I do not need to print all other numbers. So I'm just going to print the maximum is max. Okay, let me run the program once again. What happened? What happened? Okay, I have not introduced. This is a common problem for me. Okay. Now, what else? Int x. I have introduced. Okay, sorry. Okay, I do not need to introduce it here, because I have introduced it inside the for loop, because I do not have any work of x outside of the loop. So enter element 1, let me give 75. Enter element 2, let's give 39, then 45, then 50, then 23. Now element 6 as 95, then 23, again means 77. Let me give some other numbers like 100 and then 84. So the maximum is look 100. Okay, so whenever you will give some new number, if it is greater than the maximum, the new maximum is that number. So whenever we have given 100, 100 is greater than 95 and the max is becoming 100. I hope you got this point. Okay, so there is another thing. It will be better not to take max as 0. So better to take 9 numbers input from the inside of the loop. Okay, or better to take like 2 to 10, second element to 10 element. The first element you can take input inside, means from the outside of the loop. The first value will be the first maximum, means 75 was the first maximum. So the first value I can take input inside max. So whatever user will be given first, that will be initially max. Then second term onwards, I will keep checking. If the second value is greater than the first value, then max is the second value. Then if the third value is the greater than max, then max is third value, kind of that. But the first value will be taken outside of the for loop and it will be max. Okay, so it will not be good to take it as 0. So suppose if anyone enters all the 10 numbers in negative, means -5, -3, -2, or -7, then in your answer you can see the maximum is 0, but all the numbers are in negative. So it is better to take the first, to consider the first number as maximum. Okay, so I'm doing the same here. Okay, I hope you are able to understand, and if not, yeah, you can reach out to me by the comment section, and obviously you can go through this part once again. So what is next? The last topic for the day is handling the range of the value. Suppose anyone asks, find all the prime numbers in between 100 and 200. So in this case, never go for 100 to 200 part. Solve solve the prime number logic. Okay, so let me take an example like num. So it is, as per my experience, I have asked multiple times to the students like what is the definition of prime number. So 80% cases they gave me the wrong answer. Okay, someone tells like, okay, the number is divisible by 1 in itself, the number is not divisible by any number, kind of that. So it is not true, the number is divisible by 1 in itself. All the numbers are being divisible by 1 in itself. So the perfect answer should be the number is divisible, should be divisible by only, this only term is very important, only by 1 in itself. Okay, so even I have given them to solve the prime number program, but most of them were not successful. You can try, you can pause the video and you can try to find the number is prime number or not, that program by yourself. But most of the cases I have checked, the program is wrong. But okay, uh, not an issue, it is a part of our learning. So I can show you how to calculate this part. Means suppose the number is 17, so I'm not going to divide 17 with 1 and itself, means 1 and 70. I know every number is being divisible by 1 and itself. So I am going to divide 17 from 2 to 16. Num minus 1 means if the number is 17, I'm going to going to check from 2 to 16 if I can divide 17 anyhow or not. So I equals to I plus 1. So 2 to 16, the loop will be iterating. So now from the inside of the loop, I will check if the num is divided by uh, I. If yes, there will be a variable. Let's take a variable like f equals to 0 initially, say f equals to 0. So if the number is divisible by any of those numbers, I will just convert the value of f. That's all. So after the loop, I will check if the value of f is still 0. If the value of f is still 0, that means it never enters into this if part. Means it is never divisible by any number between 2 and itself. Okay, so means itself minus 1 basically. So if it is still 0, means if it is not going to divided by any number, then I can print easily like the number is prime. Okay, and if the value of f becomes 1, that means it is divisible by some number. I don't know by which number, but I can write it is not prime if the value of f is 1. Clear, I guess. So 2 suppose let's take another number 9. So I will be trying from 2 to 8. So first 9 divided by 2, answer is no. Again 9 divided by 3, answer is yes. 9 is divisible by 3, so the f will become 1. So after the loop I will check f is still 0. Answer is coming as no, f becomes 1. So it will go to the else part and it will print number is not prime. Okay, so let me check first. Let me run the program first. Again, I have done some mistakes, and again with I guess. Sorry, it is a common problem with me. Okay, let me take. What is the error again? What is the error again? Enter element I. Where is enter element I? I do not need it. I just need to print enter a number. Okay. So enter a number. Let me give 17. So number is prime. If I run the program once again and give some other values like 23 or 21. Okay, let me check. 21. So it is saying number is not prime because it is being divisible by 3 and 7. You can give some tough numbers as well to computer, like I don't know by which number it is being divisible, but it is divisible for sure by some numbers. So let me give 2371, and it is saying quickly, it is saying look, the number is prime because 2371 is not being divisible by any of the numbers. Okay, so that is very good, that is very fine. So now the question is to handle a range, means to find all the prime numbers between 100 and 2n. So never start with this statement 100 and 200. So if you are done with the for loop program, if you are done with this num, so just now first write the inner program, means how to find the number is prime or not. Now I'm going to implement what are the prime numbers for the range 100 and 200. So I'm going to delete this num because I have already written the program for num, the variable num. So I will do the same again, but the num will be not given by the user. Rather, num will be starting from 100, num will be ending at 200, and num will be num plus 1. So I will first give num as 100, and I will check everything. The num is prime or not. Okay, let me arrange the, means let me fix the alignment. Understood this part or not? First tell me. So I'm not going to take the num as input because I have already written the program like if num is prime or not. So now num will be iterating in the for loop. So it will be enough if you place a for loop before the prime loop program. So it is applicable for everyone. Means if anyone asks what are the Armstrong number available between 1 to 500, just first write the program for Armstrong number and put a for loop at the top of the Armstrong program, and it will calculate all the numbers between 1 to 500 which are Armstrong. So now I'm doing the same. I put this for loop. So num will be 100 first, then the num will be 101, then num will be 102, and every time it is going to print if the number is prime or not, prime or not. So let me run this program quickly. And it will create a mess because all the numbers will be written like number is prime, number is not prime, number is prime, number is not prime, kind of that. So still, let me run this program. Okay, look, you are not able to understand, you are not still getting the perfect result because everything is so messed up. It is writing number is not prime, number is prime, number is not prime, number is prime. So which number is prime and which number is not prime, it is not mentioned. So what I will do, I will mention the prime numbers, and I do not need to know which numbers are not prime. So I just need to print the prime numbers. So I have deleted the else part, and here I do not need to print the number is prime. Rather, I will mention num. Okay, I will just mention num. Num is the number we are checking is prime or not. So I will just going to print the number. So now let me run the program once again, and it is now giving me the correct numbers: 101, 103, 107, 109, and all. So I can change this range. I can change this range to 1000 to 2000, say all the prime numbers I need. So then computer can quickly calculate these prime numbers. Look, these are the prime numbers between 1000 and 2000. Okay, I hope it is clear. If it is not, you can contact me via our Facebook page, by the comment section of this video. In case of any doubt, you can reach out to me. But my suggestion, and if you are able to understand this chapter, so understand this whole class, then my suggestion will be to solve the exercise quickly. It is mandatory. It is mandatory. First, solve all those program I have shown you by yourself in the compiler, and after that solve the exercise, and you can send me the details. Okay, means you can send me the chapter. So this is our Facebook group, and in the Facebook group these albums you can see. So go to the coding exercise basic, and from inside coding exercise basic there is a chapter like not nested if not nested if there is a chapter called for loop application. Let me open that. For loop application, where is that? Yeah, this one. So for loop application, so this chapter you can solve. So there are multiple mathematical problems. The page is coming hazy, but still there are multiple problems you can see in this for loop application chapter. Okay, so you can solve this. Okay, so in case of any problem, you can reach out to me. And yeah, let me go back to the this part. Sorry, where is the okay? So these are the links. You can pause the video and you can search it in the Facebook. And for the study materials, you can go to the this blog link. And for the exercise, you can send me the exercise into this part, devabrata20@gmail.com. Okay, so in case of any confusion, you can reach out to me for by any of these ways. Even you can comment on the comment section. Best of luck. Next day we will do something else. Okay, bye.